Second pack, can't speak, been up too long. What's going on, guys? We are back in the garage again, and this time we're installing something a little bit special onto the GSA. Lone Rider have kindly sent me their Moto lights to install, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm halfway through installing the Inov K7 cameras onto the bike, and I thought, you know what, whilst I'm going to be doing the lights, I might as well wait for the cameras. So once everything's stripped down, I can then feed the camera cable through the bike properly rather than just over like I normally do, because I think I'm going to leave the K7s on the bike permanently. So yeah, so I'm halfway through that video, starting this one, so then when I finish this one I can carry on that one. And before we get into the unboxing and see what we've been sent, yes, I know the bike is gopping, been at work since 6, and I'm in the garage doing this after, so you know what, it is what it is. So Lone Rider have given you 3 different options of how to mount this onto your bike. First one being the under nose, which means it's going to situate yourself under the nose at the front here. Second one being on the crash bars, and then the third one being using the original OEM light position. Me personally, more lights, the better on the road other car users are going to see us. So I'm going to keep the OEM ones on, and I'm not going to go on the crash bars because I've got the crash bar bags from Lone Rider, so I'm going to go for the under nose option. To be able to do that, you're going to need to get the under nose mount. As always, the packaging is on point. Wouldn't expect anything else from Lone Rider. Now these are going to be some spacers, and this is the bracket. Nothing too complicated. The complicated part comes when we need to install it, because we need to pretty much disassemble 3/4 of the front to be able to get this in. Right. Second package is the Moto can. So this is going to be plug and play. It's going to give you all your capabilities of adjusting parameters on the lights, strength, daytime, nighttime, whether you want the ring on the external, white or you want it or amber. All that is through this. This is the brains of the operation. Looking inside then, it does tell you to connect the Moto can to your PC to do a software update. So we'll do that later on. So we've got all cables and spare connectors. So yeah, this being the brains, there is a micro USB port. One of these cables is going to go into the RDC, I think it's called, part of the bike. The other part is going to go into where the RDC came out of. This long one goes to the battery, and then the other cables are going to be other accessories if you want to add them later on. So Denali sound bomb, heated gear, GPS, other things like that. So they're just extras for you. So reality is we only need, I believe, 2 plugs and then the battery cable. This is what we come here for. We all love a sticker. And obviously one of the cables from the Moto can goes to the lights. I'll tell you what, these have got some size to them. So we've got nice covers, big old fans at the back for cooling, and there we go. That's the money shot. Oh yeah. Some more cables. I believe that's probably going to be the Y splitter for the lights. That goes to the Moto can. More cables. These may potentially just be extension cables. Tools. Mounting hardware. We've got L mounts. And what's nice to see is they have included in the standard kit the bar mounts. So if I did want to change my mind later on and take off the OEM ones, I could whack these on the bars. We'll get on to the full functionalities of the lights and the capabilities and the things that you can change when we start doing the Moto can to the laptop, so we can see what we can play around with. But what I like is that you don't need any extra splicing of wires. You haven't got to connect into the horn wire or the passing light. It's literally plug and play. I think that's enough waffling for me so far. So I'm going to get on, start stripping this down, and we'll see how bad it is, or how hard it is. I am not a mechanic, so I'll give you a score of 1 out of 10 at the end of how hard I found it. So stage 1 for me, I've taken off the centre part from the tank. There's 2, 4, 7 screws. Typically there's 1 T30 and then like 6 T25s. My single garage is not big enough with all the gubbins. I'm gonna run out of space. I used to quite enjoy kind of taking the plastics off my sports bikes back in the day. But now there's a lot of screws and a lot of plastics on this compared to a sports bike which had probably 3 screws either side, and that was the plastics off. But yeah, so I've taken the nose cone off, and there's 2 that go underneath. Also, this is just for me, so when I forget what bits go where, I can remember. I personally like to leave the screws that come out of what holes in the same locations. Sometimes you might need to put a bit of tape over them if you think it might knock it and they might fall out. Now I've taken one from the black fairing just to the right of the nose cone. I'm not sure if I need to take all of it off because it goes all the way round to the side of the tank. But I've taken it out because it loosens up for this nose cone piece. So we'll see. Another 2 from the inside of the silver plastic next to the radiator guards. Absolutely pissing it down outside. Looks like tomorrow's going to be a garage filming day again. Crash bar bolt, just to loosen it up and bring it away. The T25s behind the black plastic fairing with the vents, which is still holding the blue bit of fairing in. Now potentially, I think that's the right hand side done. And then repeat. Potentially I think you don't need to take the little plastic wind deflectors off. But okay. No, you do. They're holding the blue fairing in place from the top. Shorter T25 front left hand side upper nose bit, which holds the left hand side plastic onto the right hand side plastic, I believe. I think we're getting somewhere. Upper fairing right hand side off. I'm confused because I'm pretty sure, so you got the bolt here, that is holding on to the front headlight guard protector, and on the videos I've seen, you won't be able to see it, there's one just behind it, but my headlight's in there. So after an off-screen mini meltdown, had a little panic. Basically, so I've got the told you, long day, headlight guard, that's the word. Got the headlight guard on, and hopefully you can see a bit better now. So the headlight goes into the second bolt, and then the silver bolt you can see, I've actually put one of the brackets in place, in one of the bolts in place of the bracket. But in there was the bolt for the headlight, and I was like, oh, where's the bloody hole? But it took me a few minutes, then I realised I could take those bolts out and then slide in the Lone Rider bolt for the bracket, which is exactly what I've done. So I've just kind of prepped it. I've done one side, it goes bolt through the top, then the massive spacer, then the nut on the bottom, and then I'm going to do the same the other side. 100%, I'm the type of person that will strip his bike down, put it back together, and then have nuts, bolts, washers left over once it's back together. So Lone Rider long bolt through the headlight guard, spacer, bracket, and somehow hold it all together whilst then screwing it. Hold it from the top whilst holding it from the bottom. Honestly, if Zoe loved me, she'd be out here, she'd be helping. She doesn't. We're in. Now, Ugga Dugga, get it tight. Oh yeah, they ain't going nowhere. So the good thing when mounting these, it doesn't matter left or right which the lights go, because later on in the software, if you put the right indicator on and the left turns on, in the software you can just swap them around. So just grab yourself a light. Oh man, my ankles. Oh. 17 years in the army did not do my body well. So I think I could have used those J brackets, but I didn't want the lights hanging down any more than what they are. So I've used the nuts, bolts, washers from the J-mount and just put the light straight onto the bracket. And when it comes to angling it, I can just loosen that a little bit, move it around, and then we've got the bolts on the side to adjust any other kind of angle that we need. Ooh. Oh, that was loud. Bloody hell. There's a little bit raining. Now I'm just going to wire both lights cabling through to the centre. So I've just fed the cable up either side, hopefully in areas there. It's not going to get too hot, it's not going to get snagged. Try to follow similar routing to the other wires. And now, just going to put the fairing back in. Now I'm going to connect the Y splitter to the back end of the lights and then try and start putting the fairing back in place. Told you, almost had one left over. Get in there, get in there. Last little piece. Hey, look at that. She's on. Alright, I'm off. I'll see you tomorrow. Before I press record, I started having a little play around with the tank pad that goes above the tank, as in the fairing part, and the cable where it's down the central part of the tank, the fairing wouldn't fit on. So I've readjusted and I've actually attached the extension cables that the kit comes with. So now the Y split is going to be just towards the back rather than towards the front of the bike, and I've got one cable on the right hand side of the centre part of the tank and then one on the left, and I'm just doing a little bit of cable management just to make sure it doesn't pop out and sticks in place nicely. I've seen people go full hog on this and take off the tank and route the cable underneath the tank and then come out towards the middle there. I'm not going that hard. I don't want to be taking this tank off. What I've seen people do in other videos to make it easier routing it is they've taken this plastic rear section off, so then they can put the cables underneath properly, put them in place, and then put this back on. So that's what I'm going to do. A few bolts. I think there's like 4 on the left and maybe 4 on the right. Let's give it a go. Oh, Jesus Christ, who done that up? Now I ain't going to admit, but that took me a lot longer than I would have liked. And we are finally now where we needed to be. So I'm sure this is now stripped off so I can fully do the wiring coming out from underneath there. And now I can place it in around, because obviously with the plastic on you can't actually get to any of these bits. So a lot more space to play with. My Y splitter cable, feed that through. So now I'm just adding in the Moto can, following the instructions. The white cable goes into the end of the Y splitter for the lights. Going to feed this part through, which is going to be for the power. Hopefully now you can start to see why actually it is beneficial taking off that rear section. I must admit, cable management is probably the least favourite part about anything that I install onto this bike. So with the cabling coming, obviously I'll tighten this up in a bit, but it's coming under. Going to be situated right there, and then I've brought it over here and tucked it under behind this part of the frame and then tucked out. I was going to try and go through this gap here, but the fuse box was too big to go through there. And yeah, now it's just a case of connecting this before we can move on. So I simply removed the plug from there, put it into that one, which is that bit there, and then this cable plug back into, so this is the RDC here. And all I've done is touch the ignition and made sure it's got power. We've got the green light. Now I need to connect to this, to the laptop, so I can update everything. So I've connected the Moto can via the micro USB cable provided into my MacBook. This works for MacBook or Windows. You just go onto Lone Rider's website and there you go, you can download the software, pick whichever one you're running. So the Moto can is a hybrid combination between Hex EasyCan and Lone Rider. They come together to make the Moto can. From my understanding, if your bike already has a Hex EasyCan or system, you don't need to buy the Moto can one, you can just tap into the original. Mine doesn't have anything, so this is why I got the Moto can one. You've got to register onto the website, choose your model of bike. Once you've registered, go back onto the app, and then it's going to need to do an update, let it do its thing, make sure the ignition is off, which it is. Well, whilst that's updating, let me just talk you kind of through some of the extra features, capabilities that the Moto lights have. So we've got the daytime running lights. That's going to be a ring around the outside. That can be either white or amber, and you can change that on the software. 4 of the lights are going to be for the wide beam, so that's going to light up the area that's in front of you, in front of the bike, as in closer to you. And then you've got the high beam, which obviously extends the distance further out. And lastly, you've got the spot beam, which is the last one, large one in the middle, which actually that shoots out like a 2-degree light up to 700 meters. And lastly, they are 100% waterproof and dustproof at IP68, so absolutely no dramas with taking these wherever you want to go. I like to take my bike off-road, and last time I did, I dropped it in a puddle, and they'd be absolutely fine. Firmware's done. So it's saying that it registered that there's nothing connected to the Moto can CAN bus system, so it's going to search the bike and then see what it can find. And hopefully it finds the Moto lights. And there we go, I can see that it's found both motor lights, either the left and the right hand side. To make sure it works, I've turned on the ignition and the amber lights come on. Using the software, you can change whether you want them amber or white. Me personally, I like them amber. As I mentioned earlier, right now I've got the right indicator on, and if the lights are swapped over, so on the software, on the arrow on the right hand side at the top, you push right and then you see it says MTL and MTL, so basically that's the motor lights left and right. They were the wrong way around, obviously I was indicating right and the left one was on, so I've swapped those around, and now as you can tell, one on the right is indicating. Just to check, go to the left, and the left one is indicating. I've got it set to inverse flashing when hazards on, so as you can tell, hazards are on, and then the motor lights are flashing alternately to the hazards themselves. And you can adjust the daytime and nighttime intensity of the daytime running light. Moving down, we've got the wide, so that's the bottom 4, and your nighttime intensity. All of these I'm gonna have to play around with. I don't know what I like and what I don't like, so I'll set it to what I think. I'll go out, see what I think, come back, and I'll just keep tweaking it until I get it set perfectly for how I want the system to run. Strobe on flash to pass, yes. So to see some of the functions like the flash to pass and the horn, the bike has to be on. Okay, so the spot with speed blending means the spot is that central one, the one that's at 700 meters. So if you have it off, it means when you've got high beam on, it'll be on automatically. Or if you have the spot with speed blending on, it means it'll be off when the bike's at a certain speed, even with high beams on. And then high beam on, the bike gets to a certain speed, it doesn't say what it is, and then that spot will turn on. And it bleeds in and out, so it comes in and goes depending on your speed. I'm super happy with the way they look. I just need to go out in the night time so I can tweak and adjust their position and make sure they're facing down the road and not too high, actually blinding people. But yeah, I think you can't beat the way these look. The build quality is fantastic. And overall, for someone as unskilled a mechanic as myself, I've managed to strip down the front end, eventually put the bracket on, get the lights on, and then do this. And don't get me wrong, it has taken me a few hours, but it doesn't help when you're recording, because at the end of the day, I've got to be moving the cameras around and changing things. So it's a good day, I'd say, to do this and do it properly and make sure everything's wired through and you've got it to the way you want it. Or you could just take it to those professionals that install them all the time. and then they'll know exactly where to put them, what to do, and you can just sit back and enjoy coffee. Right, all that's left now is for me to reinstall all the gubbins I've taken off this morning. So all in, the bracket, the motor can and the lights, you took a look in at just under £900. But if you do have an easy can system already installed, you can save yourself 220 quid and not buy the motor can. But if you don't, you have to have it. Rear rack's back on. Finish off the Lone Rider back box rack. What am I doing? Tell you what, there's something satisfying about doing something yourself and it working. But that's all back on. That ain't going nowhere. I have put the seats on. The seats fit, nothing gets in the way. Put the front part of the top of the tank back on. And I think we're almost there. We just need a nighttime ride and a day ride to see what we think of the stuff. I had this in my pocket from earlier. But honestly, where it goes, I can't remember. Moving on. I found it. Found where that screw goes. It's on this bit of plastic here, but it does mean I have to take this blue tag off. But that's okay. I think we've actually done it, boys and girls. Ah, look at that. She's a whole bike again. B-E-A, beautiful. Well, as you could probably tell, just tell, my electricity's gone out again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the video here. I think it's probably going to be long enough. So this is going to be the full installation of the Moto lights from Lone Rider. Again, thank you very much for them to sending them to me. In the next video, we'll be doing a full road test day and night, so please stick around for that. Subscribe to the channel just so you get notified of when that's released. If you've enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up. If you think I've done anything wrong or you would have done anything differently, let me know below. Let me know in the comments, because like I said, I haven't really got a clue what I'm doing with half of this. I watch YouTube channels. I watch other YouTube videos to see how they've done it, just to kind of give me an idea of what I'm going to do. But overall, I am super happy with the outcome. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Till then, ride safe.